But today we're here to talk about dangerous games and personalized cyber. And I think that this timing for us as a business has actually been absolutely perfect. We have been researching the potential for a cyber personalized product for the past 2 years as iTOO, and we managed to launch that just a few months ago in the beginning of this year. And I think we've hit now what I see as a perfect storm, where with people working from home, accessing work emails and networks from their home Wi-Fi and home computers, and also we have children working from home and schoolwork and videos all at home and all on these same personal networks. So I think that now more than ever is the perfect time or an important time to be thinking about personalized cyber and the risks that many of you face. So I would like to introduce you to Candice Sutherland, who is our head of personalized cyber at iTOO. I think most of you know her. She is one of our absolute best speakers. She's an expert personalized and commercial cyber underwriter, and I'm sure she's going to entertain you and give you some great facts about the risks, and then of course how our policy responds to personalized cyber. If I can just ask Ferguson Langenhoven from our sales team, it's fantastic to see you, but if you could turn your camera off, we're going to get going with Candice. And Beulah Fenter, I think your camera is off, but then is still on. But if I could hand over to Candice. And Candice, thank you so much and welcome. Please ask your questions on the message group and we will chat afterwards. So thank you, Candice, and let's hit it.
Good morning, and thank you so much for your time, everybody. Justin, if you can just give me a thumbs up that the presentation is showing.
Perfect. The presentation is showing. If you could just maximize it on your screen, that's good. Your first screen is black, right? There we go.
Yes, it should have the iTOO logo.
Yes, perfect. It's all good.
Perfect.
We can hear you and we can see. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, everybody. We are going to be discussing personalized cyber insurance as well as some dangerous games that our children are playing on the internet right now. So right off the bat, how far would you go to get that killer shot? Last year, there were 259 selfie deaths in 137 incidents reported globally. The mean age was age 23 and male deaths outnumbered females 3 to 1. Tourist destinations have had to go as far as designating selfie-free zones to prevent this sort of situation happening. So we'll chat about some games that are available on the internet. This one is called the Blue Whale game. The creator of the Blue Whale Challenge is a 21-year-old called Philip Budakin. He is a former psychology student who had been expelled from his school. He said he developed the game because there were people and then there is biodegradable waste, and he was clearing our society of such people. So how this game works is that you get 50 tasks to complete in 60 days. Task number 1 is you need to take a photo of yourself with today's newspaper and submit it on the game so that you could be approved. Every single person was approved, and this is targeted to children between the ages of 12 and 16. So task number 1, you submit your photo. You then would get task number 2. Once you've submitted evidence of task number 2, you get 3, 4, and 5. The last task is that you have to be filmed committing suicide. And so far, 600 children have killed themselves globally. Philip was arrested, and he has been sent to prison for 3 years and 4 months. But this is a game that is freely available on any platform for you to download. Gallon Smash, this is where generally, statistically, a bunch of teenage boys will go to a shopping center. They will film themselves doing this huge dramatic fall on the floor because they've spilled something like milk or water, and they film it and they put it on the internet. The problem is these boys are getting quite hurt, broken jaws, they have to end up in hospital, really severely damaging themselves, but they don't tell the parent that they are injured. So they sit in pain quietly and don't report the incident. Furthermore, because they are filmed and then the video is put up on YouTube so they can get the maximum amount of likes, you can see who is participating in these games. So you can see where the store is as well as who is participating, and then those store owners are finding these children and holding the parents liable for the damages caused to the store. The Kylie Jenner Lip Challenge, this is where you will get something as simple as a glass. You'll put it around your mouth and create a suction until your lips plump out. There are little kits that you can buy even on 1 day only, lip plumping kits. The problem is that it doesn't last very long. So in order for you to have these Kylie-genic sort of pouty lips, is you have to do it multiple times a day. And by doing it multiple times a day, this is what you end up looking like. And this is not a bruise. This is not something that is going to heal. This is what this young lady will look like forever, because it breaks all of the blood vessels around your mouth. And because you're doing it repeatedly, it means that it doesn't get a chance to heal. So if you have a teenage daughter at home and she's hiding her mouth, this could be the Kylie Jenner lip challenge that she's participating in. The banana and Sprite challenge, this is where you are filmed eating bananas and then drinking some Sprite. This causes a really severe chemical reaction in your stomach that then gets you to projectile vomit. And obviously videos that have puke coming out of every orifice get way more hits than somebody just having a tiny little puke on the side. The problem is it causes a severe chemical reaction. So when you take your child to the dentist, again, ask if there is enamel on the back of their teeth or if their throat is raw, because either they are bulimic or they are participating in this game. And as we know, it's only awkward the first time, and then it's a competition to see who can puke the most and get the most hits on YouTube. The Sunburn Art Challenge, this is where a child will go outside, they will put sunscreen in a pattern on their skin, and then sit in the sun and intentionally burn so that when the sunscreen is wiped off, they've got a pattern. So girls are generally doing this on their stomach, boys are doing it back and shoulders, and it's generally an area that isn't shown to their parents unless they're naked. So it's a very, very dangerous game. We know how dangerous the South African sun is, and they're doing it multiple times to get the maximum amount of burn so that the pattern stays on the skin and lasts longer. So this is Swatted. Swatted is an internet prank where somebody will find your address either through your IP or because your name and location is known. It's with online gamers. They will then lodge a false report with the police and state some serious crime. So there's a bomb threat, there's a murder situation, or there's a false report of mental health emergency saying that person is suicidal or homicidal and that they could be armed. The problem is with any real online gamer, they'll sit in a room that's very dark with earphones on. So when the police arrive to attend to this really critical emergency situation, the participant doesn't respond because they've got the earphones on and they're so engrossed in the game that they can't hear what's happening around them. And then, unfortunately, and it has happened multiple times before, the police officer will shoot to kill, assuming that this is somebody that is a serious danger to them. Game of 72, this is probably the most concerning one. This is played predominantly between teenage girls, and it starts on a Friday afternoon. So the rule of the game is that you have to run away and hide. You cannot have your cell phone on you or any form of communication, and you have to hide for a period of 72 hours. You cannot contact a single person, not your family, not your friends. And if you last the 72 hours, that's when you can go home. So you'll see the Facebook group Pink Ladies, which is a really amazing group that will search for missing persons. You'll see late on Friday night, early Saturday morning, there are lots of new posts of the teenagers that have gone missing. And then Monday, that post is deleted. Why? Because the child has gone home. But just imagine the things that could happen to your teenage child who's hiding with no form of communication, not in the residential neighborhood, because then somebody might spot them, and they hide for a period of 72 hours. So it really is crazy, the games that teenagers are playing. And I fear that now in lockdown, it's probably going to get worse because teenagers are bored. They're bored. They don't want to watch TV. Their parents are working. They're working from home. They have to keep quiet. They're doing school online, and while they're online and have full access to the internet, you assume that they are doing their schoolwork. They're secretly looking at these sites that will bring them some form of entertainment. So if you have a child at home and you are paying for the device, the fiber line, the internet, you have every right to know what your child is looking at. So I encourage you to please look. There is an app which is disguised as on an Android phone, it's disguised as a calculator. So when you look at your child's phone, you think it's a calculator, it's nothing to be concerned with. But it is an app that will let them access nefarious sites, essentially. So please, I encourage you to look at what your children are looking at, monitor their online activity. And if you are paying for that device and that fiber line, then you have every right to do that as the parent. So onto our personal lines offering. As Justin said, this is an offering we have been working on. We've researched for about 2 years to really try and tailor make a product that will fit the South African market. So our product is called My Solution. It is a personal lines cyber insurance offering. Next, I'm going to take you through the modules, why we've added that module, the reason for it, and some statistics. So we know that cyberbullying is a huge issue in South Africa. We've seen the reports online. These are some stats that I've taken, newspaper reports that I've taken from the last 6 to 8 months. So this particular one is a Hoërskool Kempton Park pupil who was brutally attacked in the bathrooms by a much bigger boy. And he tried to commit suicide when the video of that incident went viral. In the video, you can see a much bigger boy punching him in the head, kicking him in the ribs, picking him up, throwing him onto the floor. While in the background, you can see other pupils just looking on and filming the attack. And when that video went viral, this pupil attempted to commit suicide. Our next one, the Gauteng Department of Education has confirmed that a 13-year-old pupil from Doornpoort Primary School in Tshwane has killed herself after she was allegedly bullied at school. The grade 6 pupil took her life at home on Monday, was a Monday when the incident happened, after a grade 7 pupil threatened to distribute a video of her naked. She had reported the matter to one of her teachers, and when the parents involved were called to the school to discuss a disciplinary process, she committed suicide at home. 2 pupils were suspended from Littleton Manor High School after a fight went viral. It was a lover's spat, and in the footage you can see a boy severely beating up a girl in full view of other students while they just stood and filmed the incident. In this particular situation, a grade 11 pupil from Foreign-2 High School took her life to end what she claimed were months and months and months of humiliation by her maths teacher, which she had reported and nothing was done about it. So in 2018, Ipsos did a global views on cyberbullying. They surveyed 28 countries, and South Africa has the highest prevalence of cyberbullying, with 54% of South African adults knowing a child in their community who was a victim of cyberbullying. Versus a global average of 33%, South Africa is at 54%. So our cyberbullying module, we will cover the costs to remove the content of your child that has been put up online. This module would also cover cyber stalking, and cyber stalking would happen to an adult and cyberbullying would happen to a child. So the policy will cover the cost to remove the content, any lost wages for time that you've had to take off work to resolve the situation. There is an upfront payment it's a trauma benefit that will enable you as a victim of cyber stalking or your child as a victim of cyberbullying to go and seek counseling from a psychologist. If that psychologist determines that your child needs to be moved to a new school, there's an upfront payment for additional school fees, school uniform, or any other costs that would be covered. And the policy would also respond to experts. It will allow experts to manage and protect your reputation going forward. So let's chat about identity theft. In South Africa, somebody's identity is stolen every 2 seconds. Last year, there were 1 million children who were victims of identity theft. 2/3 of those children are aged 7 and younger, and 60% of victims are personally related to the perpetrator. So it would be a parent or an auntie that would take out a loan and sign surety in their child's name because Christmas is coming, or a holiday needs to be paid for, or repairs around the property. And then when it comes time to pay that amount back, they're unable to do so. And the child is blacklisted before they've even had an opportunity to open a cell phone account. So our identity theft module, we will cover the lost income for time that you need to take off work to resolve that situation. We will cover the cost to reapply for any loans, grants, or other lines of credit, the cost to get affidavits notarized, to make telephone calls to report the theft or rectify your records, up to 6 months of credit and identity theft monitoring, as well as the cost to reissue the document that was used for identity theft. Moving on to theft of funds, we had chatted to all of the banks, and the bank's general stance is if you are a victim of fraud or theft of funds from your bank account using an ATM or a point of sale device, they will cover either a portion or that full loss of theft of funds. However, if you are a victim of theft of funds from your bank account using internet banking or an app on your phone, they will not cover that loss. So banking app losses increased by more than 88% last year to an average of 14,253 Rand lost per transaction. Online banking losses increased by more than 44% to an average of 32,298 Rand lost per transaction. So the picture on the screen is a lady named Barbara Lowe, and she lives in Gordons Bay. She was a victim of online banking. She is 70 years old. First National Bank is holding her completely liable for the 22,000 Rand that was stolen from her bank account because she cannot prove that her banking credentials were compromised. She had spoken to FNB. She had insisted that she did not divulge her online banking credentials. She had not received a phishing email to put in her credentials. So she didn't know how this 22,000 Rand was stolen from her bank account. But because she couldn't prove that she didn't do that, FNB is saying, we will not refund your loss. And it's not just FNB. All of the banks have taken the stance that if you are a victim of theft of funds from your bank account using internet banking or a banking app, they will not cover your loss. So our theft of funds module, that will pay you back for funds that you've lost from a cyber incident or hacking of your bank account, payment cards, or mobile wallet. Our cyber extortion module, last year there were 792,000 sextortion attempts, impacting 89,000 recipients, meaning that there was an average of 8 attempts per person before they actually paid that ransom. These ransom amounts are small amounts. Generally, it's 1,000 Rand, and it's paid in cash, because if somebody is holding me to ransom, there's no point me transferring 10,000 Rand to their bank account, because then we would be able to trace who that person is. So invariably, 60% of these victims personally know the perpetrator, so they would go with you to an ATM and withdraw your maximum amount, which average South African bank account is set to 1,000 Rand maximum withdrawal limit at an ATM, and then you would pay those funds over to them with a promise that they would not share your naked videos, your weight loss pictures, that sort of thing. So how our policy will respond, we will cover the cost of an IT expert to confirm the validity of the demand, and as appropriate, try and restore your systems and data. It's important to determine, is this actually a valid threat? Has somebody managed to infiltrate my phone, my personal device, and steal my pictures or steal my messages? Or is it just a spam email? If it's just a spam email, no further action needs to be taken. But how would the ordinary man on the street know if it was? If required, we will also cover the ransom demand and any other reasonable costs incurred by you to resolve this incident. Last year, there were 9 malware attacks every single second in South Africa. So malware is it's a blanket definition for any malicious software. So things like viruses, ransomware, Trojans, they all fall under the definition of malicious software, which is software that does something bad or naughty to your device. South African Android phones are the second most targeted in the world for banking malware. So banking malware is malicious software specifically engineered to get your banking credentials so that they can steal funds from your bank account, And an Android phone is any device that's not an iPhone. So it is your Samsung, your Huawei, every device except an iPhone. So our data restoration and malware recovery module, that will cover the costs to restore your data and any software because of a cyber incident. Bearing in mind, regardless of what brokerage or what company you work for, this is not your work-owned laptop. This is for your personal device. So privacy and data breach by a third party. If you have been a victim of a cyber breach through one of the any of the companies listed on the screen, there's many more South African companies that have been hacked. So I'm sure you can identify with one on the screen that you are a client of. If that company is hacked and you are a victim, this policy will help you with your legal defense costs against that company because you are a victim of them being hacked. So if I can just quickly touch on a few. Postbank, during the Postbank heist, a IT professional named Israel Basung was hired by a cybercrime syndicate and placed into Postbank. In that situation, he opened up 103 ghost client accounts. They changed the ATM withdrawal limit to a maximum of 500,000 Rand. And then over a period of 3 days, him and his syndicate visited 5,437 ATMs, and they managed to withdraw 32 million Rand of Postbank clients' funds. Ada Era Realty 1, this was a deeds office breach in which more people were affected than the amount of South African adults that are alive today. Because there was a direct plug into the deeds office, and you would know if you've ever purchased or rented a property, the sensitive information you need to disclose to have that bond approved. City of Joburg, multiple attacks on that system, understanding the sensitive information that they would have, similar to Sanrail. Let's pretend I am the ringleader of a car stealing syndicate and I need to get three 2020 white BMWs. Do I A, send my crew to stand on the highway and hopefully hijack somebody in a 2020 white BMW, or do I just hack Sanrail and be able to search for that car? By putting that person's name into LinkedIn, I'll see where their office address is. I can see what sort of role they fulfill, and that would tell me if somebody is on the road a lot or if that vehicle is parked in a locked garage or in a secured area at that office. And that's how I would be able to steal that car much easier than hijacking somebody. KFC, they had a particular form of malware called Dexter. Dexter was on their point of sale devices, so any person who went to a KFC and swiped their debit or credit card throughout South Africa, they would swipe their card, the slip would come out, but the transaction didn't go through. How did the situation happen? Their IT professional had been retrenched, and he decided to get his own back by planting this malware onto their mainframe before he resigned. Standard Bank, 400 million Rand stolen by apparently the Japanese mafia. 15 arrests have been made. Not a single person in South Africa, not a single South African. And how did they do it? Because an ATM was using outdated programs. So what is an ATM? It's a computer. What is a computer? A computer is something that can only follow instructions. It cannot think for itself. So this Japanese mafia apparently had planted, had got into the mainframe of the ATMs. And because they were using outdated software, they weren't being monitored. And that's how they were able to steal 400 million Rand. Goliath and Goliath Comedy Club. Somebody managed to infiltrate the sister of the comedians, who is the marketing manager, the PR spokesperson, the event organizer of Goliath and Goliath, managed to infiltrate her email, and they sent on a Friday night at around 6 p.m., they sent 700 emails to everybody that was in her mailbox saying, we're a family-owned business, we only opened our very sexy club in Melrose Arch a few months ago. Please, can you settle any outstanding bill that you have? We would appreciate it. Oh, by the way, we've changed our bank account details from A to B. A total of 300,000 Rand in transfers were made until Monday morning, when one of her friends gave her a call and said, listen, I've got this email from you. This generally isn't how you would speak So I just wanted to call and make sure that you want me to settle this invoice, which I'm happy to do, but I just wanted to make sure. And Kate was like, what are you talking about? We haven't changed our bank account details. I didn't email anybody. Now, the problem is that 300,000 Rand has been paid by multiple people. They are not going to pay that bill again, but it hasn't been received by the people who provided that service. And unfortunately, a total of 4 months later, Goliath and Goliath Comedy Club had to shut down their super sexy brand new venue in Melrose Arch because of this event. View Fines is a website that you can register so that you can pay your traffic fines online. That was intercepted and 934,000 South African details were stolen. Moving on from this, a network security, privacy and data breach liability. This is the defense and settlement of a third-party claim which results from a cyber incident that happens on your computer or your IoT device. So an IoT device, IoT is Internet of Things. IoT device is any device that can connect to the internet. So your cell phone, it can connect to the internet, it's an IoT device. If you have a smart fridge that can connect to the internet because it will automatically order your milk and your bread from Pick and Pay, deduct the money from Zolzi as an example and get it delivered to your house, that is an IoT device. Your Fitbit watches, Garmin watches, your home alarm system, these are all IoT devices. So if your computer or any IoT device that you own is breached or hacked and that causes harm to a third party, to their systems or their data, this is the module that will help you defend yourself against those claims. So our solution is a modular approach. We have 3 packages. Mega is your entry level, just theft of funds, no other cover is added on. Giga is your theft of funds, identity theft, data restoration, cyber extortion, and cyber bullying. And the Terra package would include your network security liability, privacy breach and data breach liability, and then privacy breach and data breach liability by a third party. In terms of pricing for our entry-level package, it will cost you 15 Rand a month for you to have theft of funds cover. To include your spouse or 3 children, it's an additional 10%, so the total monthly premium is 16 Rand 50. A child is defined as any person under the age of 21 or any full-time student under the age of 25. So if your child is studying at UCT and they don't live with you, you can still cover them under your policy. To include your spouse and 3 children, that would make your monthly premium 18 Rand. The Giga package, that is a monthly cost of 55 Rand. To add your spouse or 3 children, 60. A spouse and 3 children, 65. Our Terra package, that is 105 Rand a month. To include your spouse or 3 children is 115. To include your spouse and 3 children, it's 125. So how this is offered, because it's a personal lines, it's very similar to a VAP. You would speak to your insurance broker who has this product on Sims, TL, Flexi, Integrity, or a third-party platform, and they would add it onto your policy very similar to the way you would with roadside assist when you have your car insurance with the company. This is not, this is a product that can be offered on any platform. It is a product that can be offered to any underlying insurance policy. So you don't have to have a Hollard policy as an example to be able to qualify for this offering. So if you want any information, please feel free to reach out to either Ryan or myself, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. If you're in a broker and you would like to find out about offering this to your database of clients, please reach out. We will help you with marketing information. We will give you full product training, anything that you need to be able to offer this product, we would gladly assist you with. And any questions we would be happy to answer. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and go back to video. I see, Beulah, you still have your camera on. If you don't mind, if you would be able to turn that off. But otherwise, I'm happy to hand over to Justin and maybe answer some questions if there are any.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I certainly, with having kids at home, saw a couple of those games up front, and I think it's time I chat to my broker about taking out a policy. Really interesting, and thank you so much. And I think that you've really thought about these products and the different things that they cover. Ryan always likes to say that it's more than just cyber insurance. There's a lot more to the cover, and that certainly is the case in this case. So, Candice, we've got a couple of questions, and I'd like to say to anyone that's listening, if you have questions, please put them on the message group, or just now we'll give you a chance if you want to come on your microphone and ask questions. But maybe let's talk about a few questions first. So Candice, we have a question from Lee Balding in Cape Town. So thank you, Lee. And he says, would your policy cover the costs of tracing the hackers or cyber bullies' IP address and all the costs relating to that search? Do you want to talk a little bit about that process?
Awesome. Thank you. Great question. So we are not the police. We do not expect that you would find the perpetrator who has committed this. Bearing in mind that cyberbullying, which generally happens to a child, you would know who is involved in that. So a WhatsApp group would be created with multiple people on that would be talking about your child, or a Facebook group would be created, even if it's with a pseudonym. You would know who's involved in that. When we look at cyber stalking, unless you've just broken up with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your side chick, or you fired somebody at work, you won't always know who is perpetrating that. But part of the policy isn't that you have to go find who that person is. If you would like to, we would help you with that. And because when we're doing the investigation, it's going to see where that pinpointed from. So we would, by all means, help you if you would like to do that. We will help you prosecute the third party who has committed the cyberbullying or cyber stalking against you. But we do not mandate that you have to. If that's not something you want to do, that's fine. But if you would like to, we will help you with that.
Great. Thank you so much, Candice. And then we've got a question from Claudette. And she said, would grandchildren be covered under the policy if the grandchild is the guardian of the, or grandparent is the guardian of the grandchild?
Excellent question. Thank you, Claudette. Yes, we can. So how the policy is written is that it will cover the principal member plus one person, so that would be a spouse or partner, and then it extends to a maximum 3 other minors. So we could say plus spouse and or children and or grandchildren and or niece that you may potentially want to have custody of, but that just makes the slide messy. So yes, we would absolutely be able to cover that anomaly on a policy. It's just for the sake of slide sexiness that we didn't include every single possibility.
Candice, and then here's another great question from Seamus. So thank you very much, Seamus. And Candice, I think we need to take up this opportunity. But Seamus asks, is this product available or being promoted to schools? And I think that's a really interesting risk. How do we cover all of the kids in a school? And that would be an interesting policy. But do you have any thoughts on that?
Excellent question. So yes, it's not something we have actively marketed to schools, because we would need to partner with a broker that would like to lead that. But similarly, let's take iTOO as an example. If iTOO took the decision that they wanted to offer this product as a fringe benefit and cover the entire cost or cover a portion of the cost, then we would do it as an iTOO binder. It would be the same for a school. So yes, we would be able to definitely come up with a plan. And that's part of the excitement of launching a new program, is that a new product is that we get these sort of ideas with these things that we haven't even considered, but we cannot go to market as an underwriter. We cannot go and present to a school. So we would need a broker to help us facilitate that discussion.
Great. So there you go, Seamus. And to any of the other brokers there, if you are the broker to any of the schools, we would really be keen to chat about how we evolve and adapt this product to cover all the pupils in a school. And I think that's a fantastic idea. Candice, I think iTOO was really the first in South Africa to launch cyber personal lines. I mean, who else is offering this, and how is our product different? Do you want to give any thoughts on that?
Question. Thanks, Justy. So we have seen PhishShield's offering, and that is a theft of funds policy. So exactly like our theft of funds module, that is what they offer, but they don't offer a cyber insurance offering. It's purely just theft of funds. We have seen 2 other products in the market, but it is definitely not as comprehensive. We have done wording analysis and a comparison. So if you are engaged in conversations with other companies and you'd like to see how our product compares, we do have those comparisons already done to show you what we offer versus what they do, potentially some restrictions. So if we look at PhishShield's offering, that is available for the principal member only. You cannot offer it to family members, and it is restricted upon having a certain antivirus installed and that sort of thing, where our policy doesn't. So we do have those comparisons, and I would be happy to share that with anybody that's interested.
Great stuff. Candice, we've got a question from Sophia, and she says, do you have a product under the commercial insurance platform? So do you want to maybe just talk about our commercial cyber offering briefly and cyber on the go?
Perfect. So we have two company offerings. We have iTOO Go, which is your SME offering. That is targeted to specific companies under 250 million Rand revenue. So if you were a financial institution or a call center, you wouldn't qualify for that. It has pre-underwritten rates. So for example, if your revenue is between 0 and 10 million Rand and you're an attorney, then your premium for a million Rand cover would be 5,375 Rand annual premium. The offering gives you a quote of 1, 2.5, 5, 10, 15, and 25 million Rand cover. And in order to qualify for that, you need to answer 5 questions. You have to answer yes. So there haven't been any prior incidents. You do conform to some very basic IT security. So you have a firewall, you have antivirus, you are not outside South Africa, and you don't store or process more than 100,000 records. Then you would qualify for that. So that's really targeted to your SME. And the greatest part about that is that a broker can send it to us as an instruction to bind. So they sit with their client who happens to be an attorney. Their revenue is 7.5 million Rand. They want to purchase a million Rand cover. They fill in the form. They say yes. They sign at the bottom. They send it to us. We accept the policy. You don't have to wait for quotes. There's no technical underwriting. Where it falls into the second category of our corporate offering is for any company that wouldn't qualify for iTOO Go, or any company that has above 250 million Rand revenue, has operations outside South Africa, has had a prior incident, or stores a massive amount of records, so anything over 100,000 records. Then, as underwriters, we need to understand what that IT network looks like. It's not something that we can thumbsuck or make assumptions on, unfortunately. So I know brokers have multiple times asked us, I have client A, their revenue is B, they do C, give me a premium. But we need to understand that IT network because we can't make assumptions on what they do or don't have. And then there is a 7-page proposal form sitting with the IT professional, which is the person that must complete the prop, not the receptionist, because she wasn't involved in setting up that IT network. It shouldn't take longer than 20 minutes to complete. So I've heard feedback in the sense that the CEO is sitting with a prop. He doesn't know what the answers are. He doesn't know what to say. And it's been 6 months. I can't get him to fill in the prop. But the IT person is the only one that would truly know those answers. So 20, 30 minutes, tick, 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 drop down a couple of menu items. Then the broker sends it to us, and we will offer a range of options for cyber insurance. And that can go to any company. Our maximum limit that we can write is 150 million Rand, and that would need reinsurance approval. Our minimum limit is 1 million Rand. And our iTOO Go offering has had huge success. And our book has taken a complete switch from predominantly large corporate risks to predominantly SME, because it's just so quick and easy. You sit with your client, you answer the 5 questions. They may have to call someone to find out an answer that they don't know. Premium is on the table. Send it to us. We accept the policy.
Thanks so much, Candice. Maybe last question from me, and then we can open up. I see 1 or 2 people have had their hands up to ask questions on the microphone. But Candice, a question for me, and I really am of the view that every single person and every single small or medium business should have some form of cyber cover. I think it really is becoming the single most important cover and risk that businesses and people are facing today. How do we go about doing this with brokers in terms of binders or standalone policies? And maybe you want to talk a little bit about your personal lines offering. How do we do this on a binder, or how do we do it standalone?
Perfect. So you're absolutely right, Justy. Any company that has an employee, a client, or a computer has a cyber exposure. So if anyone would like to come online and tell me about a company that doesn't have a client, employee, or a computer, then I will do a dance. But every company has a cyber exposure, and every person has a cyber exposure. Our whole lives are on our phones. So let's pretend hypothetically you are waiting outside a restaurant for your Uber to fetch you. While you're looking at your phone is unlocked, you're waiting for your Uber to arrive, somebody runs past you and snatches your phone. They can get into everything. You know, generally the older generation, no offense to anyone, they would have a contact that says passwords. So my Standard Bank is Candice01, my LinkedIn is Candice02, my Facebook is Candice03, my Twitter is Candice04, but I don't remember, so I save it as a contact on my phone. They would be able to get into things like Uber Eats, bottles, if you have that installed, Zulzi, and order groceries, order whatever they so desire. They have the QR scanner so they can go to Mug and Bean and purchase coffee because they have your phone. And there's no two-factor authentication saying you have to swipe your thumb to make this purchase on Uber Eats. And it's something we're seeing quite a lot of. Phones are being stolen. The device is sold later, but until that time is, that device is blocked, they will then run down the street, jump in an Uber, get it to take them somewhere near their property. Once they get out, they call all of their friends on your device. They would then order a massive amount of food on something like Uber Eats or Mr. Delivery, or order a massive amount of alcohol on an app like Bottles. It gets delivered to where they are standing, and then with their friends, they walk home and have a feast. And that's on your credit card. And you know, your purse is stolen, your handbag is stolen, your wallet is stolen. The first thing you do is call the bank to stop your cards. But when your cell phone is stolen, what people do, the first thing is they go on Facebook and say, my cell phone's been stolen. If you need to reach me, this is where you can find me. You know, call your company, call your cell phone service provider to block that number, you know, remote wipe that device. Learn today how to remote wipe your Samsung or your Huawei. And it's called Huawei, not Huawei or whatever people say. It's a Huawei. Learn today how to remote wipe that device, not once your device has been stolen. I digress. So a personal lines offering, it's available to any binder broker. So you would have to have a binder with iTOO or with Hollard. Please note, not an outsource agreement. It has to be a binder. Once, if you have that binder, then we would do a due diligence. To amend that binder, we need to send it to the FSCA for approval to amend your binder. Once that is done, the product is released to you on your third-party platform like Sims, Flexi, Teal, Integrity, MMX. Those are the major ones that we have worked with, and Nimbus. And then you would go to Candice Sutherland, who is your client, who has her house insured with Suntum and her car insured with Old Mutual. You go to the VAP section, it will say My Solution. You choose the mega package, and it would be Candice plus whatever, spouse or 3 children or whatever the situation is, and you add it on. And it's as simple as that. So it has its own disclosure notice. It can be sold 100% as a standalone policy, but bearing in mind when we're looking at low premiums of 15 Rand a policy, it would be unrealistic to expect a broker to go and load somebody's full details, name, surname, ID number, children's details, etc. for a 15 Rand per month premium. So it's sold as a VAP. It's super, super easy, but in order to get that, you would have to have a binder in place with iTOO or Hollard. But happy to chat after this if you have any more questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Candice. And I think you're going to get a flurry of emails
asking
binder requests. And I really do hope that this is something that all of our brokers will be offering to all of their personal lines and SME clients very shortly. So please get hold of Candice or Ryan if you would like to do that. Candice, one last question. They keep coming in, but just a question from Dave. How does a personal policy respond to a ransomware attack? Just a quick one, and then we'll ask anyone that has any questions they want to ask on the microphone.
Perfect. So if we look at the ransomware, if we look at sextortion particularly, sextortion is when you are being held to ransom for some sort of sexual nature. So my boyfriend has naked pictures of me, we have naughty videos, that sort of thing, or some naughty messages. And let's say I'm married and my boyfriend, I don't want to be with him anymore, I want a new one, or whatever the case is. So he will have an attempt of sextortion. So it's extortion with a sexual nature. So he will say to me, if you don't pay me X amount, I'm going to send these messages to your husband. I'm going to send these videos to your church. I'm going to post these pictures on social media. So he's holding me to ransom because he has my naughty business. How our policy will respond, so you call into the 24-hour hotline. You say, this is a situation that's going on. And then we have a full incident response process. Number one, we will determine, do they actually have those naughty pictures, naughty videos, and those texts? Because if they do, we need to take the situation seriously. And obviously, if I've sent that to a boyfriend or somebody I'm having an affair with, they would have that. But let's pretend it's a third party that's claiming they have this. So number one, determine the validity of the threat. If it is a valid threat, we proceed to step number two. Then we need to negotiate the ransom as low as possible. And generally, it should be around 1,000 Rand. That's historically the experience that we have seen, because it's something I can withdraw quickly from an ATM. So we, in terms of iTOO, will help you prosecute that third party that's holding you to ransom. We will help negotiate the ransom as low as possible. We will determine the validity of the threat. And then if you want to sue that person, then we will help you do that. But the reality is this. If the person I'm having an affair with has my naked pictures, and they hold me to ransom for 1 Rand for the rest of time, or 1,000,000 Rand, and I pay it, they still have my naked pictures. There is nothing that will stop them, the ability for them to post it on the internet or send it to somebody or laugh with their friends. And this is also something we need to look at with kids, because children are becoming sexually active younger and younger, and they are sharing more explicit content with each other. They do it on TikTok, so it'll show you a video for a couple of seconds and then it gets deleted. But you can very quickly print screen that in a second. You know, you don't have to wait for the whole video. It doesn't have to be sent to you. Or if we look at deep fakes, that is when somebody with very little technical ability at all can take a picture of your face and Photoshop it onto a porn star's body, as an example, or somebody, you know, that's involved in a racist comment or something really violent, and it will look like you. And they don't have to be an expert to do that. There's a program that you download that will put my face onto somebody else and then post that all around the internet, because they would prefer to embarrass me instead of holding me to ransom. So the policy will hold your hand every single step of the way, right from the incident occurring to prosecution of that person. But the reality is, and Emma Sadler has said it 100 times, if somebody has your naked pictures, there's nothing you can do about it.
Thank you.